It's Tuesday night. I'm Adam Dory, and I've got a good one on tonight, you guys. I got John Puckett on, episode 27. We're just smashing through these. It's a really good time. Don't forget, I've also got the podcast going as well. That's on Blueberry, Blubrry. Again, I'm up. I can only upload a few of those every week, and it's looking like every month now. So these just end up so long, they take up so much space that I could only get so many of them uploaded. So is what it is. I've got the first three up there right now. More to come, absolutely. But guys, thank you so much. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Neil, how are you, sir? Good evening. But again, another beautiful evening of That's Cool Drink. And without any further ado, Mr. Stick Shift, John Puckett, the bank shifting man himself.
Good evening, everybody.
How the heck are you, man?
Doing good, doing good.
Awesome. I didn't catch on this beforehand, but are you on a computer or your phone?
I'm on a computer.
Okay, so on the right hand side there's a box that says comments,
Yep.
and you can see all of the comments that come through on the right hand side there.
Okay, perfect.
I can then highlight those onto the screen here as well.
Okay.
And these are going to be folks that are on their like either YouTube handle or on their Facebook. So this is that's Ed Hohenberg.
Okay.
NHRA stock.
Yep.
So yeah. So you can see that kind of go through, and we can highlight those, and we can talk. We can talk a bunch of that type of stuff too. And yeah, Neil's doing. I'm dueling with burnouts, beers, and beers and whatnot. So. Burnt, whatever the heck his one is. So, yeah, tough night. That's like being the second prettiest girl at the dance. But either way, dude, thank you so much for joining us on That's Cool Drink, where basically I just get drunk and ask questions to dudes that, we all know, but we don't know.
Right, exactly. We all know of these people, but do we actually really know those people?
No, exactly. And like we were talking before, you get the chance, best case, talking to a guy for an hour.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like you're hanging out with them, you're driving, it's an hour through 5 or 6 or 7 hours, probably.
Yeah, right.
And like at the end of the day, it's okay, I'm going to sleep. I'll see you guys in the morning. And then they left.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Well, whatever, man. So, but this gives us a chance to really talk to dudes and chicks and couples and brothers and families, and it's been a really good time. And like I said, kind of getting more into the history and what you do, why you do, who you do, etc.
There was a few years ago, drag weeks a few years ago, that we actually sat down. Well, it wasn't that we sat down. It was just that we made it possible to meet new people instead of the people we knew all the time. So it was me and my co-pilot, Brad. We would be wherever we were at, and we would just introduce ourselves, because I mean, these people are all doing the same thing we're out doing.
Right.
So it just, one year we did that, and it just blew up, because then now we know all the people we did from previous years, and now 2 more handfuls of people that we always talk to. So
yeah, exactly. And you just you widen that berth of cool dude. Like, it's all the same. We're all the same people. We're cut from that same cloth. I mean, for sure.
You figure there's 400 people that sign up for a drag week. You figure there's at least another 400 people there because they have a co-pilot, and then there's probably another 400 people there.
Right.
And you're never once there'll be times that I'll go through videos and be like, man, I never saw that car.
Mm-hmm.
I know, it's just,
and you're like, what class was he in? Looking for anything.
Right.
And like, this has been a really good time to be able to do that. And I've really been kind of concentrating on the everyman.
Yeah.
Not the guys winning the overalls necessarily. And like, eventually I'll have them on, I would imagine.
Right.
I mean, I got 27 episodes with dudes with 14-second cars. And
Yeah.
I mean, I had Pat Cook on last week. He's the dude that rode the Grom
Oh my goodness.
for the week.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, just, 22-second ETs, but, it's a Grom. It's like taking a Franklin on drag week. It's the same. I mean,
Yeah.
there's cool and there's cool.
Mhm.
So I'm digging into cool.
Right.
And that's where you fit in, man. But yeah, last time I saw you, I was smuggling you into the back of a trailer to get you into Bradenton Motorsports Park, I believe.
Yeah.
And
That was I tried to go through the gate with Frank that morning, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're not on this list." And they're like, "You have to go park and wait to get in." And I'm like, "Well, I'm like 2 hours early before they open the spectator gate."
right.
See you guys go through the wrong entrance thinking you're going to get in the track. I'm like, man, I need a ride in. And here we are, putting me in the back of a trailer.
Yep. And it was, I was riding with Joel McGill, and he's got that OBS truck, and it turns out that it's a stick truck.
Yep.
And we shove you in the trailer, and we're driving in, and he's like, dude, who is that guy? And I was like, that's John Puckett. You should probably know that dude, to be honest with you. Like, he's a T56 Magnum dude. And he's like, oh, well, I already like him. So, yeah, man. So that was super fun. But yeah. So again, we want to get kind of in the history of this. And what I want to do is start from like when you knew you were going to be poor and a car person for the rest of your life, and then like kind of what you're tooling around with then, what made you basically into a dude with like not only a Capri,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So like it's not a Mustang,
right?
And then it's not anymore pushrod Ford,
yeah,
and it's not even an LS,
yeah, right.
Which yeah, I mean, in the parlance of our times. But what leads us from little baby John to like, this is what I'm doing?
To start with, my dad his family owns a drag strip.
Oh.
Humboldt Dragway here in Iowa. My father's side of the family owns a very large portion of land in Humboldt where they farm. And my grandpa was a big drag racer, and my dad was into drag racing, but probably not as much as grandpa was. And that drag strip is still actually in service today. It's at one time was a quarter-mile drag strip, but they used to have jet cars there. This is a story I've heard. They had jet cars there, and there was kind of a dip about the 1,000-foot mark. Okay. And some of those jet cars would take off.
Wow.
So they knocked this thing down from a quarter mile to an eighth mile. So it's the type of drag strip that it's got a return road, but it's grass.
Okay.
So
what timeline are we talking where it's
60s?
I mean, when they're running freaking jet cars.
60s, late 60s, early 70s. And I'm not even quite for sure, but I know my old man had a 64.5 right when they had first come out Mustang with a 289 and a 4-speed, and he used to race it at that drag strip.
Wow.
And the sad thing about it is I've never been down that drag strip. I know, right? My dad.
Where are you at?
Yeah, my dad has been trying to get me to go there for years, and I can't bring to. I don't know why I haven't done it.
That's cool. I mean, your family owns a drag strip. Drink, everyone. I mean, that's around. Let's go.
But I mean, when I actually just had an uncle pass away, and this uncle had I think we measured it. It was 100 by 180 barn that had 60 cars in it.
Wow.
Yeah. And probably another 40 of them sitting outside.
Dude.
Which my mom and my other uncle are in the process of trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do.
I was going to say, like, that's cool until it's not.
Yeah. I've walked through this barn before and was overwhelmed. Like, I'm like, okay, this is not, I get it. There's a lot of cars in here, but you're more of a pack rat than you are anything.
Right. It's like I like that one, but I need to move 15 other ones that don't roll.
It was funny too because he was the type of guy that had some money sitting around somewhere, and it was in one of those cars.
No kidding.
Yeah, my mom's like, yeah, he told us where the money was.
It's like old, like almost Arrested Development episode. If you've ever watched that, there's always money in the banana stand.
There's always money hidden somewhere. I was just thought it was hidden in the house, but no, it was hidden in a car.
Well, happy it didn't burn all up. So
yeah, right. Yeah,
but I mean, may he rest in peace. But
yeah,
dude, how cool is that? So like you,
I was surrounded by gearheads from the start. Uncles, dad, everybody was into cars. So
ruined.
Yeah, ruined from the get-go.
Right. And it sounds like Ford people ish. I mean, at least your dad, your dad had a brand new Mustang.
I'd have to say what really put me so when I graduated from high school, my parents, we all knew I was going to work on cars. I worked at a FOMOCO station my junior and senior year, busting tires, pumping full service, changing oil. So we knew I was going to be involved in cars. And I was taking I also did a vocational school through high school down at Central Campus where it was a auto program.
I did like the same exact thing.
Yeah.
It was a high school. I got high school elective credits to go to the auto mechanics program that was attached to the community college.
Yeah. Well, what they were sponsoring big down there was the ASEP program, was the GM program. Well, I was a Ford person, and I tried to get into the Ford program. Well, the Ford program didn't start until like 9 months after I graduated from high school. My mom's like, no way. She's like, if you don't go to school, once you get out of school, you'll probably never go back to school. Well, we walked across the parking lot to the GM program. They started in 3 months. And she goes, okay, this is the program you're going with.
So that's why you work on GM.
Exactly.
And drive Ford.
Yep. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I drove GM trucks for the longest time, big diesel guy because I was a diesel mechanic. But if that Ford broke, that Chevrolet was going to get it home.
I mean, that's true.
That's true.
And see, I'm like the I hate diesel trucks. I hate them with a passion. I can't work on them. I don't know nothing about them. I'm just lost. So good on you.
Yeah.
I just gas truck for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But
so I mean, I did that program in it was like a 18th month program through DMAC. So I had to have a sponsoring dealership, and I ended up working for that dealership for 27 and a half years. But I mean, that's basically where I knew I was going to be involved in cars. But I had purchased my first Mustang when I was 17 years old.
Okay, give us the deets on this.
Oh, God.
I'll tell you, my first car was a Mustang.
Okay.
And so we'll duel crappy first Mustangs.
Okay, yeah, because mine was a 79 that had 87 ground effects all the way around it. So it looked like an 87 Mustang. So it had the front nose, the wing, the hatch, all that stuff on it. But it was 79.
What timeline are we in here?
I graduated school in 95, so probably 94, 95.
Okay, all right.
This car, because I drove that car to DMAC while I was going to school. Well, the black car you showed a picture of was sitting in the backyard waiting to be taken care of. Yes.
So you had that car.
Yeah, I had that car, and I bought that car in probably 95, if not early 96.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll go with the white car. Now, little history about that car, and I don't necessarily know if it's true or not, but I'm pretty sure it probably is. we had a chop shop here in Des Moines a really, really long time ago.
Okay.
And the word on the street was a lot of those parts off that car were from that chop shop. Anyhow, but
Well, and I mean, in the time, I mean, Vanilla Ice
yeah,
is hot. So, I mean, you got a 5.0.
yeah,
So it's not a
yes,
rag top,
yeah.
but, but
Until you looked inside and saw what color, what the dash looked like, and everything like that, you're like, oh, that's an old car.
so mine was a 1971
Okay.
Mustang coupe. So just that ugly, I mean, just ugly. But it had rust so bad in the quarters that I locked the keys in the trunk one time and got them out with a claw hammer. So it was a 351 two barrel
Okay.
with an FMX.
Oh, cast iron transmission.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and a 9-inch, but it had like 270 something gears. That thing was that was a peach. But I worked all summer. I was 14. Worked all summer, and I saved every dime I made, and it was, I don't know, $1,100, and I bought that thing for $1,000.
Yeah.
And I was 14,
Hmm.
and I never drove it on the street legally. I took the motor out of it, and I taught myself how to wrench on it.
Yeah. So the thing about that white car, sure, the black car's got a swap engine in it, a Coyote. Well, that white car, I actually put a Windsor in it, which was kind of unheard of back in that day, because you were buying special headers, you were buying a special oil pan, but that actually had a 351 Windsor in it that I built myself in my parents' garage.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was the first engine I had ever built.
No, and that's legit stuff. Like, if you guys don't know, like back in the day, the Windsor block is taller.
Yep.
So it's a 9.8 deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then the regular small block is a 9.2, right? Or something like that.
Something like that.
Either way, but it's a taller deck. So all the heads and everything, it all fits different. Mm-hmm. So especially a Fox body, that stuff is tight. So and then enter the Coyote, which I got to see up close and personal. Miles Groves' car. Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen his ride.
Yep.
I got to see his up close and personal, and I actually had him at the Mile High Nationals. We brought him along with a Rocky Mountain Race Week shootout thing that we did.
Okay.
But holy cow, dude, a Coyote and a Fox fits, but I mean, like, just barely.
Yeah.
And
it's tight.
It's wild, man. I mean, it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you, on top of that, you pack a blower on top of it.
Yeah. One of the things I'm kind of kicking myself about doing that is that motor was a 9.5-to-1 compression motor. I wish I would have put the 11-to-1 in it.
Okay.
Because I have to spin the nuts off that blower.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah. Yeah. Just the motor makes less on motor, so the blower's going to make up for it.
Yeah.
And then it's, especially like high altitude or high DA.
I was really, really psyched when that car went 998 in Colorado. I was like, oh my God. That was the only reason I did the second Rocky Mountain Race Week, was because you guys were going to Colorado and I wanted to race in Colorado so bad.
Oh yeah. Totally, man.
And then,
Yeah.
So a little backstory on that black car, on the Capri. Let's say I bought it in 96 or late 95, early 96. I pulled that car out of a cornfield for $250.
Okay.
It had an S-Rod 4-speed in it and a 302 that was to the short block. I sold the transmission for $250 and ended up not having a dime in that car.
Nice.
Let's start there at the start.
And that was kind of here.
Yes.
Or maybe a little before this.
Well, that's a Windsor. So when I first started with the Capri, it got the Windsor from the white car, and then I went to a 302 based engine, And then when I went back to a Windsor, and that motor that's in that car there it was a 401 cubic inch stroker that had a 4-bolt block, billet crank. It had a bunch of good parts in it. Steve Johnson fogger on it.
Nice.
But my whole problem is ignition budget. I ran that car and it went 550s on a digital 6 box.
Nice.
But it ate pistons a lot.
Well, as nitrous cars.
Yeah. I had no
do.
right. I always wanted to go faster. So, what do you keep doing? Increasing the jet.
Has it always been a stick?
No, it hasn't.
No kidding.
No, that car with the Windsor in it had a power glide in it.
Okay.
Before that, it usually had C4s in it, but God, I could only get a C4 to last me like 15 passes, and I'd have to rebuild it. I mean, I was rebuilding those things so often that I had to helicoil the head or the header bolts because I was taking the headers off so many times. You only had to take one off to get it, but yeah.
But still, you had to snag it off every single time.
Exactly, every single time.
Sucks.
But when I came to the conclusion of I had melted the piston again, and I was like, that's it. And the discussion of putting an LS motor in it lasted like 5 minutes. And my co-pilot on Drag Week, Brad, he goes, well, that new Coyote motor's coming out, and there's some guys that are starting to dabble and put those things in cars. And I started researching it, and I'm like, man, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Right.
So I was on Big Yellow Bulleter back in that time, and I tore that engine. I took the engine and transmission out. I took it all apart.
And this is 13, 14?
Probably 12.
12?
Late 12.
When the hell did they start putting Coyotes in stuff?
I want to say they started putting Coyotes in Mustangs in 12. So
like the same year it came out.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was this. So the Capri was one of the first 10 cars to get a Coyote swap.
No kidding.
Anybody who had been dabbling with, and it may have been like the first or second Capri to get a freaking Coyote motor in it, because I know there was somebody else. And I can remember I finished that car up, and I got a hold of the editor of Muscle Mustang and Fast Forward, and I said, hey, I got this car. I want to know if you're interested in maybe putting it in your magazine. And he's like, well, you can send me a picture. And I sent him a couple of pictures of the car. And then he's like, okay, well, I want it in the book because it's got a Coyote motor in it. And he's like, there's not a lot of stuff out there right now. And I ended up taking that car to
that one.
Yeah. There you go. I took that car to that's Joliet for a NMRA race, and that's where they shot it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can. So Lund Racing is actually John Lund Sr. is the one that tuned that car from the get-go.
Nice. I've met him. I announced for the Mod Nationals.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, very, very familiar with the Lunds.
Yeah. So he had some experience, because the word on the street is he did a lot of he helped Ford with the tuning on the Boss cars. I don't know how true that is or not, but I can remember it. By the time we got that car dialed in and working right, it was on like the 27th revision of the tuning, because it was all new to him.
Oh yeah.
He had been messing with it on the production cars, but when it came to a control pack where it didn't have like speed input and stuff like that in it, it made it a little bit more difficult to figure out until we added speed to it, and then it helped it a lot. So
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And I mean, just to think, like you got one of the very first Coyote swap cars, and
Yeah.
um,
It was
yeah,
either there was only two people in the United States that wanted anything to do with it. It was the Lunds or Bob Kurgan down in I want to say Alabama,
okay,
and he's like, "You have to bring me the car and drop it off, and I'll call you when it's done. You bring it down, I'll tune it." But yeah, and that was I was that had been the first time I had ever done any type of tuning whatsoever, and I'm not doing any of it. All I'm doing is
right,
relaying back and forth through email.
right. Here's what's happening.
Yeah.
It caught on fire tonight, so we went the wrong way. Can you send me something new?
I can remember one night it was me and my co-pilot Brad. We went out to do a log on the car, and we were getting into. He was started to give me timing, a lot more timing, and we were on, I want to say, 100 octane fuel on drag radials on the street, and that deer jumped over the hood. I swear to God. But I mean, we're both white as ghosts. Like, okay, we need to turn around and go
Let's
home.
go back home. That's crazy, dude. And like, I'm sure. I mean, obviously, they're not. You can't buy a kit. So,
No.
can you fab all this stuff? Is that a thing that
Well,
you're
the thing is there wasn't a lot of fabrication,
okay?
and that's what. So BBK had started to make headers for it,
Great.
and I remember getting those. They saw that there was going to be a want for this, so they got to the get go really early, and I have a really early production set of those headers. And then I can remember it's drive by wire. So there's a couple companies out there making the adapter plate for the pedal. And
Okay.
I know for sure I have a production piece because I was in contact with those guys trying to get that for the longest time. Early, it was like a pre-production piece because they knew what I was doing. But then it came down to what a lot of that stuff is O3 Cobra.
Okay.
So the motor mounts are O3 Cobra. The transmission bell housing is O3 Cobra. But when it came to, I wanted to put a Magnum in it, or a T56 was also available. That was probably a Magnum at that time was still kind of a newer transmission too.
Right. Right.
And really all I had to fabricate was the cross member,
Okay.
which ended up using a production cross member. I had to make some new mounts to set it back a little bit farther. But other than that, it really wasn't. When you get the control pack from Ford, it's got every wire and it tells you B plus, negative. It tells you where all to get
Right.
it.
So it's just straight. It should be.
Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of learning on where I was going to put stuff and stuff like that. And then it's kind of like the K member is just a modular Fox body K member. So if you were putting a 4.6 dual overhead cam, then you could put a Coyote motor in that same modular K member.
Right. The motor mounts are in the same spot.
Exactly. Motor mounts are in the same spot. But
yeah. Thank God for the Terminator Mustang.
Yeah, right.
That's where my whole rear end is a Terminator Mustang 8.8 in the Cadillac, and so they did it right there. They just built mounts to shove it into mine, and yeah,
So
Ford does it right.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that's basically where that car started. I mean, like I said, I street raced it for years. I had a pretty fast car here in town, and we did a lot of street racing on Fridays and Saturday nights. We had a cruise joint that we went to.
Cool.
Not cause trouble, stuff like that. But, that car swung from a hook one night because it had slicks on it, and it really hurt my feelings. I had to go pick it up from the freaking impound lot the next day. But I kind of got away from the whole street racing thing and started racing. I want to say when I first started to go to Fun Ford weekend events in Cordova,
okay,
is when I became someone that did less street racing and more track racing.
That's it. That's like we might be the same dude.
Yeah. I
Because for
mean,
me, it was Super Chevy Show,
okay.
but same deal. I was street racing the shit out of. I have an '80 Monza,
Yeah.
and that small block swapped
Hmm.
and didn't look fat and whatever. It was a fun little ride, but Super Chevy Show came around,
Yeah.
and my buddies were like, "Let's go check that out." And yeah, right back, right onto the track,
Yeah.
and pretty much didn't do a ton of street racing until after that. But
So
um,
yeah, I would I did a lot of fun Ford weekends. I did some World Ford challenges down in St. Louis. I just hit stuff that was within a 6 or 8 hour driving distance. So
and you were driving the car there, and
no, 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 no. I
no, no,
was
no,
trying to.
trailer. Okay,
Yeah.
all
I
right,
mean, I really didn't get into this whole I'm a drag and drive guy until I did my first drag week.
no kidding.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I would cruise that car around town, but that last motor that was in there, that big inch Windsor, that had a solid roller cam in it, and it was hard on springs. It was hard on lifters. I actually blew up a roller lifter, and it got caught sideways and poked through a coolant passage one day
Nice.
at the drag strip, and I was able to get it fixed, which was good because that was a $2,200 Ford Racing race block that was in that damn thing. But
Yeah,
yeah,
good times.
yeah, right,
as it will happen with a Ford Windsor.
right,
I mean, you know, you can only take the stock blocks so far. So,
exactly.
but when at what point did you mini tub the car?
Mm, there's a good story. So it was still push rod motor, and I was racing a local event at my 8th mile drag strip here at Eddyville, Iowa. It's a hour drive from the house, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. So it was kind of a points deal, true 10-5 deal. And that car was still on, God, it was stock suspension. So
Okay.
I was running HP Motorsport upper and lower control arms. I had airbags, and I had an airbag in the right spring. I was running 90-10s up front, 50-50s in the rear, 20
OG.
exactly 28-10-5 on a 15x10 with 6.5-inch backspace and a couple shims on each side to make it fit. The wheel wells rolled, but that car, it was fast. It was running 580s. And I went to race one of the guys in that class, and the car came up, pulled the wheels, carried them for God knows how far. I want to say it 60-footed on the rear slick, and it came out probably 120 feet, and it came down. And as it laid down, it unloaded the rear tires and started spinning them, and then it hooked and put me all over the track.
Oh man.
And I was more worried about going into his lane because I know both of us ran about the same amount of time. I was able to straighten that car out, and I just nicked the rear quarter right next to the rear tail light, probably pushed in the quarter, geez, I don't know, half inch. Maybe put
Okay.
a mark in there 1 inch by 2 inches. I mean, saved the car. But it was at that point, I'm like, okay, well, the car was kind of getting violent like that, and I didn't much care for it. And the cure for that is to put it in the dirt. So that winter, I put it in the dirt, mini tubbed it. So mini tubbed it once again. It had it's got all Team Z, Dave Zimmerman stuff in it. And I actually had a funeral to go to back home in Erie, and I dropped the rear end off at his shop on the way up there, and he shipped it back. So it's narrowed, 9-inch ends, got some of his early adjustable lower suspension stuff on it, and it was just at that point, and then I put coilovers on it, and it's funny because we were just talking about this. So on Friday nights, I have probably 6 to 8 of the original guys I drag race, street race with back in late after high school. So these guys I've known for good 20 some odd years, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Come over, and at 9 o'clock, we start drinking coffee here on Friday nights until like 11, sometimes 12.
Nice.
We were just discussing that how I don't think I would mini tub a car now.
No kidding.
No, because what's everything done on? An 8.5,
8.5 or 10.5,
or a 10.5, or even a 275. I mean, you can put a 275 in a Fox Mustang without doing anything.
Right.
And it's just so, I look at the aspect of, sure, I have the gold car too, and I would never mini tub that car. If I was to ever race it or do anything with it, it would be on a small tire, stuck in, just make it work and not have to mini tub it.
Right.
It just seems like, the availability for computer and tuning and all that is exceeding where I was at when I mini tubbed that car.
And tire technology keeps getting better. And it used to be, if you had a single digit car that was on anything smaller than, a huge steamrolling kind of tire, you were kind of king ding-a-ling. But now everyone is, it's ridiculous.
So that was the thing. I used to run that car on 26 or 28 10.5, like anything. Then that's what the classes were. And stiff wall 31. I can't remember what that is. A 3055 Mickey Thompson. Yeah.
I think that's the one. Yeah. That's the one I have on the Malibu right now.
And they came out with that W stiff wall slick. I'm like, hey, I got the room. I'm putting it in the car. And that's what I've ran for the last 4 or 5 years. And it's amazing. It's only 1 inch bigger, but yet
it looks way bigger, 1 inch bigger.
Yeah, exactly. But it fits the car perfectly.
It totally does.
Yeah.
I think it fits even with like the window and the Capri differences.
Yeah.
Even better than it would a Fox.
Yeah.
A Mustang, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I love the car. I love the I love the whole aspect of it. It's just it's a very cool deal. But so it went to a stick just when you did the Coyote. So the entire time it had a push rod, it had a power glide in it.
It had a power glide or a C4 in it. Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of, 2012, you're like, okay, here we go. We got this thing and it's got power. So you had to teach yourself how to drive a stick or race a stick?
Exactly, because it was never intended to be where it is now.
Right.
It was intended to be this fully caged car that was mini tub that I was going to drive on the street again. And that's the whole reason I did what I did, was because I wanted it to be enjoyable. I wanted a stick in it. I wanted something that was going to make power, but I could drive wherever the hell I wanted to. So that was the whole the whole plan while doing that. So that's what I did. And then now it's, sure, I still drive it, but it's
different.
It's different. It is. I'll tell you this. If I had to pick when I walk in the garage and there's 2 cars sitting there, there's a very good possibility the gold one will get driven before the black one. I literally just took the gold one out 3 days ago.
Yeah. And that's, I've really, I've stuffed myself into, I'm not putting a bar or a cage or anything in my car. And it can go, an 1150 street car is a sporty street car, especially if it's naturally aspirated.
Yeah.
But for me, like it just gets out of control so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's sorry.
There's a photo.
We're going to get to that one here soon. But I was looking for, I've got a picture of both of them in the garage, and I was like, what is that one? Oh. Anyway, but you got both the cars, and then you brought, So what gets you? Let's get you to, dude. I'm gonna take this thing on drag week.
Okay. So for years, I had watched 1320's coverage of it. And one of the guys I raced with at Eddyville, he wanted to do it. And I'm telling him, like, okay, I put this car together. Will you be my co-pilot? And he's like, yep, I'm going to be your co-pilot. We're going to go do drag week. And it's 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before we get ready to leave, he bails.
Oh.
So I put a thing on our local Facebook group of the Des Moines people, street racers, car guys, whatever. And I'm like, all expense paid trip. All you got to do is help me work on this car if it breaks. Got hotel rooms, got beds, drive you there. You're going to have to pay for some of your food. It is what it is. I mean,
Right.
I'll get you where we're going, the whole 9 yards. And I still talk to this guy, and he had just moved to Des Moines. His name is Josie Steeples.
Okay.
And he had let me get this right, a 280Z.
Okay.
With an LS motor. And I believe it was a stick too. I know it's a stick. It was a stick when he took it on drag week.
Okay.
The Magnum in it, but I'm not for sure if it started life as a stick car.
But you ruined him.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, I have no idea who you are. Some of these people I barely know who you are, and I will go on this with you. I'm like, perfect.
Let's go. Giddy up.
Let's go. Hop in the car. We hop in the truck and we drive to Bowling Green. And that's where it all started. I mean,
and that's 2013?
2013. The car had been done for, God, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months. I had taken it to the NMRA race and ran it there, and then just had done a couple local things here in town. Took it to Eddyville. I took it to Cedar Falls. I drove it to Cedar Falls, which is about a 2.5 hour drive. Ran it. So I was like doing drag week style stuff before I had done drag week, but I knew I was getting ready to go do something like that. So I was testing the car to make sure it was capable of doing it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Was it always supercharged as well?
When I put that combo in, yes. I had.
Wow.
Yeah, I had. So it had
So you went from, I mean, whatever, an IS fogger on a Windsor, it might make 800.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It did make 800.
And, I mean, all of a sudden you've got, what this thing make out of the box?
Well, when we first started tuning that car, it was on pump gas 93, and it had a Paxton supercharger on it, which was self-contained.
Okay.
And I think we were putting 14 or 15 pounds of boost through it, making close to 700 horse at the rear wheels.
Okay.
And then if we added like 100 octane fuel, it made another 50 more horsepower or something like that. So yeah, I mean, out of the gate, that's why I'm thinking, in that era, you had lower compression ratio engines if you were going to put a blower on it. And
that was always the thing.
That was the thing.
Oh my God, you have 11-1.
Yeah. Well,
you're going to blow that thing sky high.
Yeah. Now and that was the thing, I kind of kicked myself about not buying that 11-1, but I made it work. I mean, I made the car do what I wanted it to do. And needless to say, it's going to get a set of 11-1 pistons.
if whenever you have to take it out.
Oh, well, it's coming out.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you just, let's go on drag week.
Let's go on drag week. I had watched enough times on, I knew it was something I wanted to do. And another thing I really wanted to try doing too was pump gas drags.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was something I never really could get into, but it was interesting to see what those guys were doing
Yeah.
on 93 octane. And I'm like, hey, I got this car that burns 93 octane, makes this much horsepower. Maybe this is something I should go give a try too.
Seriously, we're like the same dude. And again, I'm like on a slower scale, but like the Monza, that was always the thing is it was pump gas. I would take it, I bracket raced it, but it was running 1160s on at Bandamere. And guys were like, dude, what the hell? What's
Yeah.
going on with this car? And I'm like, it's just light. There's nothing to it. And it is what it is, but it's just, yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, so you show up, you're like 2013 drag week. Let's make it happen. How did your first drag week go? How was the experience?
I'm pretty sure we almost had to push the car in the trailer.
Okay.
Because I killed a clutch on my first drag week because I was on drag radials the whole week. So we didn't have to change tires. And I was not very good at driving a stick because this was my first year of even attempting to drag race a stick car.
And it makes a ton of power.
Yeah. And it made a significant amount of power. And I literally the last pass at Bowling Green, it slipped the clutch the whole way down the track. I finished drag week, but it was smoked. It was done for. So all in all, I mean, it was a really, really fun experience. I can remember I remember going to that gas station, and because LS Fest was just getting over, and drag week was starting the next day.
Right.
And that Saturday, we went to that gas station where they had a burnout contest at a gas station. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just unbelievable. What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
And 1320 video was there, taking pictures, doing videos, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, tomorrow is going to be fun. And I can remember it raining all day long in tech, and tech took forever. I mean, ever and a day. But I can remember.
It will.
Yeah. Yes, it will. And I remember talking to someone I hadn't never seen before, and I missed the guy dearly because I became good friends with him. But the first time I had ever met Jake from Jake's Performance, and Scott too. They had that Malibu there, and I remember talking to them for a little bit, but I didn't know anybody there. I mean, those are probably the only two people I knew, and I only really knew Jake just through phone conversations.
Right.
But it was an experience. I did have somebody else. I did have another guy that came down with me, Bill. He had a blue Maverick with a stick in it, and at least had somebody there that I knew and was going to ride with me to every track. And
yeah, totally have a homie,
help each other when shit broke and all that kind of stuff. But I really didn't have any problems with the car all week until the last day when the clutch slipped down the track. So all in all, it was a good experience.
Yeah. Successful trip.
Yes.
I mean, it's running. You drove it into the trailer probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I remember I took it. I got home, and we got home, and there was a car show a week later. It may have been the next day at a performance shop. And I remember pulling it out, and I was going to take it there with the trailer on it. It wouldn't move with the trailer on it. I had to take the trailer off it, and I was able to limp it out there with a smoke clutch.
Nice.
Yeah.
But trailer, no, not going to happen.
Yeah. Trailer was out, and it was empty.
P.S. Kudos on the 17-inch front wheels as well.
Mm.
That's
I'm pretty sure that came from Jake. I saw those on that Malibu, and I'm like, oh boy, I have to have a set of those.
that's pretty spiffy
Yeah,
right there.
I remember that. That was an expensive purchase.
So now you're double hooked
Yeah.
because you're not only got a coyote when the coyote's brand new and it's got a stick behind it
Yep.
and it's got big tires, so
Mhm.
you're capable of breaking things and
Mhm.
whatever. But now you want to drive the thing and you want to enter every single one of these
Yeah.
for a while. So I know you were on 14.
Was I?
Oh, you know what? I think maybe you were broke pre
No. When was the second Rocky Mountain Race Week?
16.
Okay. So that's the year I didn't do Drag Week and I did Rocky Mountain Race Week.
Okay.
So I think I've done. What shirt are you wearing?
14.
I've got that shirt. So I must. Yeah.
I think you did. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because I think in 14 I put it on slicks
Okay.
and I started changing tires. Yes. And then I had a different clutch in it too. I mean,
So 13, 14, and then even 15.
yes. I had made them all the way through. There's only been one drag week I haven't been to. And
Okay.
that is when it was I want to say it was either the year after or the year Jake passed. Hey, 2016. Good picture.
You like that?
Yeah. I remember that. I brought that home and I did that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that was the year my co-pilot decided to take his car. So I didn't have a co-pilot on Rocky Mountain Race Week. It was just me in the car.
And that's a tough one.
Boy, that
So
first drive or that first leg from, is it Kearney?
Kearney, yep,
Kearney?
Kearney is how it's
Kearney?
pronounced, but
Kearney?
to Bandimere,
Oh my God.
and both of the East West. And if you guys haven't ever done a Rocky Mountain Race Week that included the Rocky Mountains, we're probably gonna, we are in the Midwest this year because we lost Bandimere, but guys, that Kearney to Bandimere stretch, and then the Pueblo back to Great Bend. Pueblo to Great Bend is 380 plus minus, but Kearney to Bandimere is 420 miles
It was
all day.
100 degrees out.
Right. Right.
I mean, you would have to search hard, but there was pictures. I can remember I made it halfway in between Kearney and Denver or wherever, Bandimere, wherever we were going to Golden.
Yeah, we drove past. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, I had to stop because I was running an Aeromotive A1000, and that pump was pissed, just pissed. I couldn't keep enough fuel in that thing, so that's when I'm pretty sure I stopped at some restaurant that wasn't open on the side of the road. I may or may have not. I don't think I changed the fuel pump, but I bought, I want to say 100 pounds of ice from them. And in the rear of my car, it has an enclosure that holds the fuel tank and the battery. I took it and I filled that whole enclosure full of ice
to cool down the whole tank.
That whole tank, and then I strapped a bag of ice and bungee corded it to the fuel pump. And then I continued on. And on that same leg, I remember running over a piece of metal in the freaking, it ran over something with the right rear tire, and it flung it into the trailer tire, and I popped a trailer tire. And lucky enough, I was close enough to, I want to say we were almost to, I want to say it was a machine shop where we were stopping for a checkpoint, and there was a Tractor Supply close. So I had to
Oh,
drop the trailer, leave it there, hop in the car, find Tractor Supply, bought 2 spare tires, or a spare wheel and tire, and I think another spare tire, and went back and fixed the trailer.
yeah. AMS
Yes.
engine. It
Yep.
was the machine shop
Yep.
that, and they were a sponsor that year even. So
Mhm.
that was part of the deal. Like, hey,
Yep.
I'll sponsor you, but make my shop a checkpoint.
Yeah.
But that's wild.
I
That's
can,
wild stuff. And it is hot as hell.
yeah, I can
And
remember getting to the hotel, and it was like, God, it was 10:30, and I think we left at 8, and maybe 11, and Matt and June were in there, and my buddy Brad, who brought his car, who's usually my co-pilot, comes in and he sees Matt Frost, and he goes, "I've treated fucking rental cars better than I have treated my own car today."
yep, yeah, and this is old school Rocky Mountain Race Week too. They didn't have the drive day
Mm-mm.
inserted that they have now.
Yeah.
So this is like drag week rules. I mean, you race in the morning, you drive all day, whatever.
Yep.
And yeah, wild times.
What was cool about that race was I finished that race, and on my way home from Kearney, whatever, the Shop Inc. was putting on their, or was it the shop? It was Joey. It might have been. I know the shop had something to do with Joey's no prep deal.
Yeah.
Stopped at that race on my way home, and I won that race.
Nice.
I won the stick class, and that's where I really started to get into those no prep deals with that, because they had a stick class.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And as you know, I mean, it's a different thing. It just is. There's more involved racing a freaking stick car. There just is.
There is.
And I've actually got there's some cool in car videos of you racing your car. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna just play like a 1 minute one
Okay.
real quick, and it will mute us while it's playing this, just so you know.
Okay.
Oh, this is not. Is this it? Oh yeah, it is.
That's big me.
In car stick videos are always good.
I was racing Josie, the kid who rode with me on the first drag week. He had his 280Z at that
Okay.
race. That was a drag week, and that was at that was a track that also Rocky Mountain Race Week stopped at. What is that the old airfield?
Oh, Great Bend, Kansas.
Yeah, where they're having a bunch of problems trying to keep the track right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. That is the place. Unfortunately, the home of the very first U.S. Nationals,
There we
1955.
go. Yep.
Yeah, that's a shame. I hope they get that stuff figured out
I hope they do too.
for sure. Because I mean, less places to race is not good.
Yep.
I mean, duh.
Mhm.
And then I moved away from the place that was closing the racetrack into a place that has a racetrack, but it's Sturgis. It's a little 8th mile.
Yeah.
But very, very funny. I was looking for. We're looking constantly for homes and land and things like that, and we're in the Black Hills, so there's a lot of land that's out here that's available. But looking for land, I have a 10,000 foot view from Zillow or whatever, and there's like, here's 5 acres that's for sale, and in this view is like a 3/8 round track and a drag strip
Oh,
right along the
awesome.
highway that is defunct, but is still there.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, a couple of draggies, and I
Cool.
mean,
Huh.
who knows? That could be fun. But so you've got the Capri, and then you decide I'm going to build this yellow car.
Yep.
So what? Walk us through the yellow car. This is also a Coyote.
Yep. So that car there, two things were going on. When I built that car, that's when I started my weight loss journey.
And I've got a lot of that. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that.
So I had purchased that car, and I wanted a Fairmont, and I really wanted a box top. But this thing popped up on the internet for $2,100. It was in Missouri. And the way you see it there is how it came, but it didn't have an engine or transmission. It had those wheels on it, had 8 lug all the way around it, full interior. I mean, and that car wears like 95% the original paint in it too.
Wow.
It was really, really something I wanted. I had spent a lot of money on that black car, painting it probably a while back. And God, I can remember taking my nephew for a ride in it literally a month after it was painted. And we stopped at a gas station. He opened the passenger door and ran it right into the island.
Oh.
I mean, you start to have to worry about that kind of stuff. And it just, with that gold car, that car is lucky if it gets washed once a year.
Yeah, paint causes stress.
Exactly. That
totally
car's it's got rust in the right spots. It's just, yeah. I wash it once a year, and a lot of the time it sits outside.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
but you can hop in it and go wherever.
yeah, and it's a fun ride.
Yeah.
No matter what, like whatever. And it's also a stick.
Yeah. T56 Magnum in that, and the deal with it is I bought the same ratio for that car in case I ever needed a spare for the black car.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly.
I feel the fleet vibes. For a while I had a whole fleet of exactly the same stuff. Yeah. And I even had like a pecking order for parts. Like I would buy spark plugs for this and it would get new ones, and then the used ones from that would go to this, and then those ones would come to this.
Yeah.
So yeah, like a whole, I got to work on shit 3 times, but I save money.
What I would do is I would work on that car in the weekends on Saturday and Sunday, so I wasn't in the house eating.
Okay.
But as I started to lose weight is when I first started to put that car together. It was just something that kept me busy. It kept me moving to where it helped me stay on the path I was trying to do something with, which I ended up doing and still continue to do today.
So bang.
Yeah. There's
John Puckett. What is John Puckett weigh in this photo?
The highest recorded weight that I have I got from a doctor's office was 346 pounds.
Wow.
And that was wintertime. That was wintertime, so I guarantee you I was probably pretty close to 350 pounds.
How tall a guy are you?
6'2".
Okay, so you got a big frame, but
I got a big frame.
But it's still a lot of
there's
a lot of mass.
Exactly.
So what walk us through that, dude. Like at what point are you like, okay,
so
I have to change?
It was literally an airplane ride. I weighed over 340 pounds, and I was going to Arizona for a weekend vacation, a couple days in Arizona during the wintertime to get warm and then come back. It was probably the most miserable 2-hour flight I had ever been on. And that was with me and my ex-wife. And we were both big. You know, I was 350. She was probably 260, 270. And you're in an airplane that has 4 seats, so 2 on each side with a walkway down the center. And it's just a very uncomfortable ride.
Right.
And I got home from that trip, and I had a vacation planned for Ireland in, I believe it was 4 months from that date. And I'm like, well, if 2 hours is miserable, what's 14 hours going to be like?
Right.
So it clicked in my head that I needed to do something if I wanted to be comfortable. So I set a goal. You know, I had 4 months. I wanted to weigh under 300 pounds the day I walked onto that airplane. So I did what I could do, which was basically just, I had no experience or no knowledge. You know, sure, you get on the internet and read things, but so all I did was I just started not overeating.
Okay.
You know, I overate a lot, probably more than, you know, you don't get like that without not eating food.
No, exactly.
Drinking pop and eating cookies and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I just started to pay attention to what I was eating, and I started with like a couple mile walk each night. And then that couple miles turned into 5 miles. For 3.5 months, I'd finish dinner around 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I'd just leave the house and I'd go walk 5 miles, and that was it.
And you're not near food, so you're not eating.
Exactly.
You're digesting food, and you're
I'm just
exercising. It's something.
Just paying attention is really what it was like, you know, just paying attention to what I was eating and trying to eat. I don't even know. I probably wasn't eating enough food. You know, now knowing what I do know, that whatever I did, it helped me lose 50 pounds.
Right. You know? And it got you to where you are now. Exactly. And so like, there's nothing that's wrong, I don't think, about any of it. It's just like, it puts you on a path that brought you to a knowledgeable person that can stay well fed and keep the weight off.
Yeah. So it was like, I hit that goal. I was 296 pounds the day I left to go on that vacation. And I kept that off in probably all summer long, because it was an early vacation, and I kept it off, and winter started to come in, which, who wants to go outside and walk 5 miles when it's
seriously
cold outside?
In Iowa.
And my sister was going to sign up for Farrell's, which is the program I did. It's a kickboxing program here in Iowa, and they have a couple other locations up in Minnesota, and they've dabbled it in a couple other areas. But I did say that we're going to have some pictures of you with your shirt off. It's fine. I'm good with it.
Well, yeah, because I mean,
it is what it is.
Right. Exactly.
It is. I mean, that's motivation for somebody.
100%.
And I had started to gain a little bit of the weight back. I was probably pushing like 312 or 313. So that picture you had just showed me where Fat John was naked, I weighed
naked John.
I weighed 313 pounds. So I had gained back probably a good 20 pounds from when I had left on vacation. And so I started that program, and it was a 10-week program. And I was hook, line, sinker. After the first week, it was just like, oh my God, I felt better inside. I was doing something. And it's a program where you kickbox Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you do strength training on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then on Saturday, you did a combination of strength training and kickboxing. So you're working out 6 days a week.
It's an everyday commitment, and you have one day where you can chill out and
that
rest your injuries.
One day I was chilling out was when I was working on the gold car. That's
Okay.
why I'd spend all day out in the garage. I'd
All right.
go turn the kerosene heater on, whatever, heat that place up, go out there and work, just so I was still moving is what it all comes down to.
Yep.
So I did that program I did the 10-week session, and they do a deal where you can win that session. So they take the person who had the best transformation, and the way that worked is the guy who owned that gym owned 3 total gyms. So each gym would they would pick the winner of the other gym. So
Okay.
It wasn't the people you were actually working out with or you saw every day who was, that guy deserves or whatever. It's people who had never seen you before.
Got it. So like each of these other dudes.
Well, these are all other locations, but I'm just saying it's like,
yeah,
it's just, yeah. So come to, I had lost 47 pounds, I think it was, in 10 weeks time.
All right.
And I won $1,000. So I took that $1,000 and I rolled it back into that program. It took 250 of it home. The other 750 went towards the program, and I bought in for another year.
Mm-hmm.
So when I bought in for that year, the head coach at the time was Steve McGoldrich, which is a really, really good friend of mine still to this day. He had mentioned me about that program. He's like, so this is what you did in 10 weeks. What can you do in another 52 weeks? I'm like, well, what are you talking about? I'm like, I had this great transformation. And he's like, no, let's just keep going. And that's what I did. I had fallen in love with the program. I had fallen in love with figuring out nutrition and working out. It became a part of my life, and it's still a huge part of my life. And so I continued on with it for another 52 weeks. And about halfway through that, I had reached 100 pounds lost.
And so you're still working out 52 weeks. You're doing 6
classes a day.
Classes, or 6 classes a week.
Yes.
So you're still working out 6 nights a week, and you're working a full-time job.
Yep.
You're still doing your stuff.
Exactly. I'm going to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, leaving there at 4 o'clock, come home, change, go to the gym. And what I was doing is during the summertime, I'd walk to the gym, or I'd run to the gym, which it was only 1.5 miles down the road. Or then I got big into biking, and I would bike 5 miles before I went to the gym. So it was just something really clicked in my head. And I mean, the way I was feeling was what was really clicking in my head, was because, I felt better, a lot better. I was able to move and walk and, stuff like that. But halfway through that, I did the 10 weeks, and about 25 weeks later, I got to the point where I had lost 100 pounds or 105 pounds, and I just couldn't lose any more weight. And I reached out to a company here in town. It was called Max Muscle, and it was a nutrition store. And they basically taught me how to eat, which nutrition, most people will tell you, and I will be the one that tell you, nutrition's 80% of this deal. 20% of it's fitness. The other 80% is what you put in your mouth. And once I was able to figure out what was needed for me, there you go. There's some good carbs right there.
Yes, sir.
Once I figured out what I needed, and it took a while. It took us about I'd probably say 2 months figuring out my nutrition. Then I was able to change a lot of different aspects of my life. I was able to put on muscle, lose fat, and where a lot of that stuff came in, it just, the knowledge of doing that stuff. And then after another 52 weeks. I had started at 313 pounds. So at a total of 62 weeks, I started 313 and I finished at 190 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That was a number that was the goal because at the time I was 42. I Googled 42-year-old male, 6'2". What should I weigh? Google told me I should weigh 190 pounds.
So
There it is.
there we are. Well,
Exactly.
it's a different 192 because you didn't just turn into a stick figure. Like you did build a lot of muscle and
Yeah.
like I mean I don't
And
no homo or nothing, but like I
no,
followed a lot of this
yeah, I
and
was that guy on the right there. You'll never see him again.
right.
He was too thin. He was, most of the time, people who saw me were like, "Dude, you don't look that great. You
Right.
look almost sickly." And I go, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." And I gained. So I finished that deal and I took that picture. I took the picture twice. I took the picture in the morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I had taken the day off. It was a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And I ate myself around Des Moines. I had biscuits and gravy. I had
Attaboy.
bacon. I was drinking beers. I was eating donuts. I had hamburger or I had cheeseburger. I mean, and the thing is I had already consumed easily 5,000 calories. And my head coach at the time goes, "Hey, I need you to come back in and take your picture." These pictures turned out like shit. I was heartbroken. I was like, "Oh my God." It will end up those pictures. That picture on the right is the second time I took pictures and they came
So
out better.
yeah, you look good
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
but it
But
sucks that you were stuffed full of 5,000 calories.
yeah, but it ended up helping out in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But
Um,
it's a fact of life now. It's just something I do every day. It's not
so
not every day now.
yeah, but you've come up with
I
your
have a
sort of
routine.
and
Yeah.
exactly, and that's kind of the problem that you run into with a lot of health type of stuff is doctors are really really big on just like here like hand you pills like
Oh
here's
yeah.
pills here's other options
Mhm.
besides the hard option and the hard option is a lot of work
Yeah. Put in
and
the work.
and it really is it's just it and I didn't know that until I joined the army and I was like this is gonna be so cool like I'm gonna be like ripped and
Yeah.
chicks are gonna be all over me but I didn't realize it was like I had to work to do
Yeah.
like you have to kick the shit out of yourself
Yeah.
sometimes and like that's part of it like you
Every
might puke once or twice like
every 2 years, I take a step back and I try to mimic that person that was in that photo. And I do. I will. This year is an off year, but next year will be an on year where I will go through and I will. I don't necessarily do that program religiously anymore. I
right
do it occasionally. I still go to the gym. I have a regular gym where I lift, but my aspect in life now is to, I'm a big power lifter. I love deadlifting weight. So you don't see skinny 190. Well, you do see skinny 190-pound guys doing deadlifts, but it's just the aspect of what I look at is I eat to get big. And it's the big I talk about is I want to gain muscle mass.
right right
When it all comes down in the end, as we get older, we lose muscle mass. So you try to maintain or keep or build as much as you possibly can. So it will help you as life goes on.
fuck I'm 45 all right
Well, I just turned 47. So,
so I ask a bunch of questions on all of these and I'm going to ask you one related to drag and drive but I want to ask you one now related to your journey.
okay.
But let's say that someone's watching right now that's like, I understand. What advice do you have to someone that is gonna that's decided it's time and I'm going to lose some weight?
Nutrition, nutrition, nutrition. It is so I actually am a certified nutritional coach. It was to the point where I was working with clientele that did the same thing I did, where I worked out and I didn't get where I wanted to be. And then once you figure out the nutrition aspect of that, it really does work. And I use an example of my ex-wife, and she was working from home for years, and she saw what I had done. She wanted to get involved, and this woman did not want to walk into a gym. And I said, fine, I'm going to tell you what to eat, and you need to do it. And don't just know that it will work. It was the first week I put her on a nutrition plan. She gained 2 pounds. About day 12 or 13, she wakes up and goes, I'm hungry. I'm like, oh my God, it's working. Because one of the things I look at is I want you to wake up hungry. I want you to get up in the morning and go, God, I need to eat. So 6 months later, never once walking into a gym, 65 pounds lost.
Wow.
So that I got to watch with my own 2 eyes, to know that the aspect of nutrition is that important. Don't get me wrong, fitness has a lot to do with it, but weight can be lost on just a nutrition aspect. And that was what opened my eyes to it, to go, okay, these people taught me what to do, and now I'm going to teach people what to do. And I went out and got certified so I can teach people what to do.
How cool is that? Like, pass on what you've learned.
Exactly.
And I think a ton of that is really just coaching people.
Mm-hmm.
It's sure, it's a lot of the knowledge, but a lot of it is just get your ass out of bed. Like,
exactly.
Go do it. Not every day is going to be easy. Yeah, it's just not.
I don't go to the gym every day. Like tonight, I went out for a 5-mile walk, and that's my workout for the day. You don't, it was not terribly cold, but it's just, move, get out and do something. Just don't sit on the couch and not do anything. Do something.
And the same deal. Like, I mean, and again, I'm not like a fitness guy, but in the Army, they're like, you're going to work out, and you're going to work out with your body. Like, we didn't have weights and stuff like that. Like, we got in shape and in the best shape of our lives. And I mean, every single person will tell you coming out of basic, they're in the best shape of their life. I mean, It just is what it is with your body weight.
Yep,
I mean, You don't need to own things. You can do things like push-ups, and you can do a lot of stuff with your body and with zero, like, spend no money, literally $0.
Walking, running, squats, sit-ups.
Do an iron chair on the wall. I mean, do planks. There's a million things that you can do to just do something.
Yep.
And yeah, it's one of those things that I think a lot of people have a lot of excuses for. And there's always going to be an excuse. And there's, you're always going to tell yourself tomorrow you're going to start, but like digging your heels in and digging your, kind of your talons into it and beating it like you did is just that's a thing, man. And like, I'm proud of you for it. And like I said, like I got to watch it sort of happen, and just internet stuff, like I said. And it was just kind of like, man, this is super cool. Like a guy that I don't think I ever even met you, like in real life. I was like, but this dude is like bettering his life right now. And I get to be like, have a front row seat to it. So as many things as like social media has done that's bad for the world, like that one for me was such a motivating deal, because I was like, it's so cool to watch it and what, like, it happens. It's not just a TV show. Like, this is a dude that did it and continues to do it daily. And what a cool testament to just willpower.
It was, some of the people that I saw doing it was like Brian Loans.
Mm-hmm.
He was losing weight early on in drag week. And that's someone I watched do it via freaking Facebook. And God damn it, I can't remember his name. Turbo F-150 inline six.
Oh, Lopez.
Yes.
Keith
There was a
Lopez.
time Keith Lopez was big into it too, and I watched him do it. And there's some people like that helped me get motivated.
Yeah, and like right now, like Jason Deutscher
Oh my
has
God.
been hammering it. And that's a dude that you look at and you're like, he's not a fat guy. You know,
No.
he's not an overweight guy. He's like what I like to call he's me. He's fat skinny.
Yeah. You know what that guy wants to do? He wants to be around for that son or daughter he just had. He wants to be able to be 70-year-old and be with that person.
Right. Because he just had a baby and he's just shy of 50, I think.
Exactly. Yes.
And so yeah, I mean, you got to think you got to
He's
stay
thinking
alive.
about, he wants to be alive for when watch that person.
Walk his kid down the aisle or
Exactly.
graduate high school.
Yeah.
I think it's a little girl.
Yes, I think you're right.
I'm not 100% sure on that. He's kind of kept that part of his life a little bit quiet, which is great. I mean, good for him.
But no,
but like that's the type of stuff. Like it's cool watching him do that, and then see you come on there and say like, dude, like keep digging.
Yeah. And I don't get so motivational as I used to, because there's still some aspects of it. It's that I see and I feel that some people either take it the right way or they take it the wrong way.
Totally.
So
Totally.
I kind of shy away from it a little bit, because some people might think, oh, he's just trying to talk himself up or whatever. He's just trying to show off. And it's, sometimes that creeps into my head and I don't want anything to do with it. And that's not the type of person I am, but I know what he's doing is very motivational and I love that he's doing it and he's posting about it all the time. And that is really what people need, because you never know who is going to be out there watching, and it is going to change somebody's life.
It 100% is. It 100% is. And it's one of those things that you're helping people beyond your normal means, if you will.
Yeah.
Rich Keto.
You see he can do it, someone else can do it.
Right. And I mean, like, you're not Superman. Like, you're a dude and you work and you have the same struggles that everyone else has. And Rich Guido is checking you out.
Yeah, I remember this.
I
remember that day. It was in Atlanta. Drag week in Atlanta.
That would have been probably 18.
I took the gold card to that. I had the Fairmont there for that.
Yeah, probably would have been 18 or something like that. 19, something like that. Ed Hohenberg wants to know if you still have the belt.
Oh.
So if you guys don't know, that the reaction tells me no. But he kept the belt.
You want to know where I lost that belt?
Drag week.
Sick week.
Oh, no kidding.
It broke at that drag strip, and I went back to the vehicle I was driving, and I had to change, or it broke. I was in pants that morning, and then I went to shorts, and I either lost that belt in the parking lot at Bandamere is where I think it was. And
damn it.
I know I wish I still had it, but I have enough pictures of it and I have a tribute belt. Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So if you don't know, he kept the same belt, and obviously you can make a belt smaller.
Yeah.
And just kept punching holes in it until, I mean, and there's the difference. Like it's a real life visualization of like, you're half a dude.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, dude, kudos.
That belt, I can remember I was in Edinburgh, England. Is that right? And I walked into I walked into a leather store because they had belts, and I took my belt off. I had that belt on, and this leather store had been owned by the same family for hundreds of years, and all four of the craftsmen stopped, and they all came to me and they said, "Okay, what's the story?" I ended up telling my story, and I ended up walking out with a free belt.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. How
So
cool is that?
exactly. So I have a really,
Terrific.
really nice leather belt now. It's not nearly as long, but it's a really nice belt.
Hey, whatever. As
Yeah.
long as you've got a belt. And
Exactly.
Tom Bagley says Edinburgh is such a cool space. He's the dude from England that flew over and bought the Fox Body Mustang Turbo LS, I believe Turbo 400, sight unseen, and brought it on race week this last year.
Oh, cool.
Didn't even have time to put plates and nothing on it, and got it in through ways and means and things. But flew over from England and drove that car on the entirety of Rocky Mountain Race Week, and it was slow, and he drove it on the radials the whole time, and it picked up every day.
Yeah.
But did it solo, flew over on his own. It's got a glide.
Oh, cool.
And 373s. But yeah, that's he's a gangster. He's one of us.
Cool.
For sure. But didn't I tell you, an hour and a half?
Yeah, like that.
Like you never even knew. It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like it's pretty cool when you start kind of getting into it, and time just passes, and it just happens. But that said, I've got my handful of questions that I ask everybody.
Okay.
So I'm going to start kind of throwing those out there. If you're on the comments out there and you want to talk or you want to ask any questions for Mr. John Puckett, you can do that now. If you're listening on the podcast in the future, you can't ask me any questions. You just have to assume that I'm going to ask a question that you want to hear after this. But if you've watched up any of these earlier ones, you know the questions. So here we go. What is the largest thrash that you've been a part of?
In drag and drive?
Period.
We'll stick it to drag and drive. Head gaskets on my buddy's Maverick in St. Louis.
Okay.
When somebody, Guido knows, when the red wreck hit the wall.
Oh, Bob.
Yes.
Guido.
They were fixing that car 20 or 30 feet from us, putting head gaskets on the blue Maverick. So I can remember Finnegan coming down with food and feeding us and the Guidos while they were trying to fix that car.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That was
so.
I mean, when I think of thrashes, that's the area that's done. I mean, sure, I've thrashed on cars in my garage, but
on drag and drive, it's a different thing.
It's a whole different thing there. Yeah.
Right. I was sure you were going to talk about that one.
That was kind of a thrash, but a lot of stars came in alignment when that happened. And it was, I mean, Greg was there, Holbutt was there to give us a ride, to get that axle. And then, I mean, it almost seemed too easy.
Okay. All right.
Because it was like, made a phone call, axles were being made, showed up, bought axles, left, put axles in, and on the way we went.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was a thrash. It was kind of a worrisome deal, but then smashing the pan on this year's drag week, but I knew it was going to happen. I had a spare one with me, and it literally only took me 2 hours to put a pan in that car. So
can you get the pan out with the motor in it?
Had to drop a K member.
But you can still,
Yeah, so all I did was put a jack underneath the tranny, to hold it up, drop the K member, slid it out, slid it in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Not bad.
My buddy,
Not bad at all.
my co-pilot comes over and goes, "Oh, you still know how to flat rate."
You're like, you're damn right I do.
Yeah.
Tell me about the one that got away. What car did you sell that you shouldn't have?
Yeah, this is just the thing. I've never sold any car.
Attaboy. See, that's been a thing for a few.
So yeah, the first car I had, the 79, that thing, I helped push it on the flatbed to send it to the crusher. That car never should, it was an abortion to begin with. But like I said, since 95, I've had that black car. So I've really never, I always dumped all my money into that. And
Hey.
the Fairmont, like I said, on our coffee discussion probably a few years ago, one of my buddies told me, he's like, the black car will get sold before the Fairmont ever gets sold. And there's probably a lot of truth to that.
Really? You think you would keep the Fairmont over the black car? I mean, they're probably neither going to leave, but if it was like you have like a gun to your head, you have to sell one.
The Fairmont is so much fun to drive. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's that black car will suck the life out of you because it's loud, it's obnoxious. It drives really well, but it's not all that comfortable. That Fairmont's got a bench seat in it. You hop in it.
Yep.
You can hit the interstate at 100 miles an hour. It will squeal the tires, and it wants more 87 octane put in it in a couple hundred miles. And then you rinse and repeat.
Yep. And it gets pretty good mileage. And you don't have to crawl through a bunch of bars to get into it.
They both have their spot.
Right.
But yeah.
So I have the Malibu that I refuse to put a bar in. I have the Monza, my very first car. I have back. I've rebought that car. And it's at the chassis shop now getting mini tubbed. And it's going to be my ridiculous fast car.
Yeah.
But
I have this notion that I don't know if it will happen. Well, let's finish your questions because there's a little bit, like I had talked to you, the motor is actually going to come out of the black car.
Okay, yeah, let's finish these and let's catch up because I have these to do and I have I want to talk about this gigantic trophy as well. So yeah, let's get through this. Let's talk about what you got going. Actually, one of my questions is what's going on with your stuff. So
okay,
what is so hypothetically I hand you a stack of cash,
okay,
and everything is available.
Okay.
Ooh, a Coyote Monza.
Hey.
Okay. All right. I see you. Anyway, you have unlimited stack of cash, and you have everyone in the world basically their car is available and for sale. What drag and drive race car do you own?
Snot Rocket.
Oh, yes. Now, are you talking 1.0 or 2.0?
I know who owns 1.0.
It's 1.5 now.
Yeah. And I was actually talking to Zach about buying the old motor that came out of 1.0.
Okay.
But I didn't go through it. But I would most definitely have to take 2.0.
That car is so wicked. It is so wicked. And
God, it's stupid fast.
I mean, the quickest radial pass ever on drag and drive with that ride.
Yep.
And it's just wicked. It's got a stock crankshaft in it.
Yep.
It's got a stock block. It's got, I believe, stock rods.
Probably not stock rods.
Maybe not stock rods, but lots and lots of like FOMOCO, like OE stuff in that thing. And if you've never seen it, I mean, it's like 650s, quarter mile, like it on a 275.
Yep.
It's wicked. And like I said, like so I started announcing for the Mod Nationals, and I'm like invested in this community now.
Okay.
And Brett brought that ride out now 2 years in a row, and I didn't know a ton about either car.
Yeah.
1.0 burned up at the finish line last year
Yep.
and went into the sand, and then he brought it back completely. Now it's 1.5. It's like completely different. 25.2, I think now, chassis, or 25.3. That thing's wicked. But LaSala's car, his current car, the 2.0 car, is just the entire world. The entire Coyote modular world it's wicked, man. It's
Yeah.
really, really cool stuff. And I'm not. I am an LS dude. I just am, because I like, and I'm kind of like you ish. I didn't swap mine the first year they came out, but I had an LS swap started in '06.
Okay.
So, it was still building stuff and wiring my own wire harness and crap like that. So, but either way, this Coyote community, this modular Ford community, is a whole different world.
Yeah.
And there is some wicked, wild stuff out there. And LaSala went out and took his on sick week and proved it. And I'm with you. That car's wicked.
It's neat.
It's wicked. And yeah, like I said, I talked to a guy with a GT500, and he said, I did 4 things to this. I did a fuel system, I did a pulley, I did a drag pack, something else, a tune, maybe it's 5 things, a tune, and like something like a drive shaft, like some weird like thing, and it tracked 160 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that's like cheating. It's just like cheating. Come on, man. I grew up with lumpy cams and a 350.
Yeah.
That barely idled and ran 14s.
What's cool is Lund and their ghost tune for their Coyote, where it makes it sound lumpy.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And same deal. Like, Lund is doing some stuff, dude. That car was fast on a 6L case transmission.
Yeah.
It had 4R internal stuff in it.
That thing's going over 200 miles an hour.
It's freaking wild, dude. That's a trans that comes in an F-150.
Yeah.
And the case is out in F-150. And that car is still on a factory ECU.
Yep.
And that world is.
There's another car I'd buy.
Yeah. His car is.
Yeah.
When I helped with tech this year at Mod Nationals. When I say tech, I put stickers on cars.
Okay.
But I got to see that car pretty close.
Yeah.
That's a wicked car. Lund Senior's car is a bad ride.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what is your favorite drag strip that you've either been on or been to? And I guess it would be your family's, but you've never been on it.
Exactly right. Oh, there's just something about doing a burnout up a hill.
Okay.
It's that drag strip in, where is it? God, when we've gone there on drag weeks, it's always packed. Union Grove?
Is that right?
No, I don't think that's
right. Is it
right.
US 131?
No. I think it is the Grove.
It might be. Yeah, it might be.
I don't know. Someone has to know.
Someone, Great Lakes.
Great Lakes. There you go. Something about that drag strip I've always enjoyed. Or no,
they say the Grove, Great Lakes for sure. Okay, Ed Hohenberg.
Great Lakes, yeah. I've always enjoyed that drag strip just because that small burnout up the hill, and then it's always had a really good churn out, and it's made it memorable for me when there's a lot of people. I can remember the whole grandstands being packed for that deal.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's just, but I will say, Vandermeer, being able to at least have raced that track and be there to do that was something I've always wanted to do, and I hate to see it go.
Totally.
But
Totally. Same. And that was my home track. And imagine me, like, dude, I went to my first time really traveling. I went to Pueblo before, and I've been around. My first time really traveling to all new tracks was at Drag Week 14, and so it was Tulsa, Great Bend, God, we redid it in 2020.
I remember.
Yeah, either way, but I realized, like, dude, my home track is gangster.
Yeah.
And like these tracks are cool, but like, dude, Van Air's got it going on. Like, there's something different here.
Mhm.
And Stevie, my fiance, when she moved down, she coined it the best. It's a big boy track.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, this isn't in the middle of a cornfield somewhere. Like, this is big boy track stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it sucks that they're going away, and it looks like they sold it to an auto auction. It's going to be a Copart,
Okay.
which I guess that's worth more than drag strip is, but
I guess it's quiet.
exactly, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think I know the answer to this, but trailer or no trailer?
Well, if
Yes.
I'm in the
No
state
more
of
Topeka.
if I'm in the state of Iowa and I'm going to go drag racing and I'm going to hit the local any of my 1/8 mile or 1/4 mile tracks, if I'm not going to trailer, I'm going to drive it. And I beat that drum for a really, really long time. And a few years ago, it bit me in the ass. I stood that car on the bumper God, it was fucking cold out too. Put it on the bumper. I hit the trailer hitch on the drag strip and the tailpipes and smashed the oil pan. I had to have someone come pick me up.
Damn it.
Yeah. But if I'm going to Alabama or wherever to race, then it's getting stuck in the trailer. But 99% of the time, I'm going to drive it. Even when I was doing no preps over here at I-29, I'd drive it there.
Well, I'm talking trailer drag and drive world.
Oh,
trailer or no trailer on your drag car.
Trailer.
All day.
All day.
Trailer.
All day. Yeah. Harbor Freight.
Yep. Trailer.
There's no room in that car for anything.
Advice for newbies getting into drag and drive. And let's do advice specifically to a stick dude. If that changes anything.
Advice. Boy, I'm terrible at giving advice when it comes to that.
I'll let you stew over it.
Okay.
But tell us about updates for the black car, the gold car, new car.
So
what do you got going?
I have this wild hair up my ass. It's not a wild hair. It's just always been a thought of taking the motor out of the Capri and putting it in the Fairmont.
Oh.
And so the Capri has progressively got slower the last couple years. And there's reasoning behind it. So you got to keep in mind the motor that's in the Capri, the pistons, rods, crankshaft, heads, cam, fucking lifters, valves, every bit of 11 years old.
Okay.
That engine has been in that frame rail of that car for the last 8 years and has never been removed. And Mark Cicino was giving me a hard time on Drag Week this year. And even Frank had given me a little bit of fucking hard time about it last year. And I did something. I mean, I haven't changed the valve springs in that car in 8 years. So I put valve springs in it last year just to see if it would change anything. Didn't change
Right.
a damn thing. But a couple of the cylinders are starting to have leak down, and they're not terrible. They're in the 20s, 23, 24, and I think I have 2 or 3 cylinders. The rest are still up in the teens. So I mean,
Mhm.
it's not terrible, but it's enough that it's causing that car to slow down.
Right.
I mean, at one time it was going 890s at 158. Now it's going 9. I think the fastest pass on drag week this year was a 940 at 152. And I know what's going on. And I'm a mechanic, so I usually don't fix something until it's broken.
Right.
So it's time for some maintenance. And I'm just afraid that if I go off and tear that motor apart, that maintenance is going to get expensive, because I'm talking sleeved coyote block, going out and spending some cash on a good short block. But I don't necessarily know if it's something I really want to get that deep into, because in all reality, if I can get the car to run in the 8s again, maybe 880s, maybe dip in some 70s with a stick, and I don't need much more horsepower to do it. I could probably get away with a couple of hundred more, but when you're living life on a non-sleeved coyote block right now at 1,000 at the wheels, it's just a matter of time.
Right. Right.
So,
What does your ride weigh?
with me in it, it's 3150.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow, that is light.
yeah,
And that's heavy, race car heavy, but that's light, street car light.
yeah. It is. It is.
So yeah, it just doesn't need as much power to go
No, but
70s.
it's just the thought of, I have a tune. I have multiple tunes for that car, and I could put it on 14 pounds of boost, put 93 octane in it, put that motor in that Fairmont, and bounce that thing off curbs. It'd be so much fun to drive.
Oh yeah. I mean, on 93, it'd probably make 800, 850.
Around 725, 735
Okay.
you get the wheel.
All right.
I mean, you could roll down the interstate and pop the thing in third gear and probably haze the tires.
Right. Right.
Just a stupid fast street car, which you don't have a cage, but yeah, there's just thoughts going on through the head.
I get it. And that's kind of why I went naturally aspirated. To be honest, it was just that I can't get out of control. There's no such thing as upping the boost controller or, putting a smaller pulley on it. It's just, this is what it's going to make. And
well, I've run out of smaller pulleys because they don't make anything smaller. And at one time we put a boost gauge on that car because it still has. So the SVO turbo cars had factory boost gauges. So I still run the stock cluster in that car, and I have the factory SVO gauge hooked up, and it only goes to 16 PSI.
right.
So anytime we put a boost gauge under the hood and put a one-way check valve in it, so it would allow the pressure in, but it wouldn't allow the pressure out.
Right.
See what it was, and it pegged to 30 PSI gauge, and I'm
Wow.
like, man, we just need to stop now. I don't need to know what it's actually putting out, but yeah.
While we're talking about it, Ed Hohenberg wants to know what the clutch is. Is it still a DFX, and are you running the clutch tamer?
So the clutch in that car is an RTX from McLeod.
Okay.
And I run no clutch tamer, no nothing. It's
So just running your foot?
running my foot. Yep. Hold that. And that's the thing. The car doesn't have a two-step. It doesn't have, I've got a shift light. I pay attention to the stock tachometer when it gets close to $6,000. Then I start looking up, and that's when I usually and that's it. You just dump the clutch and go.
And the stock tack works, and the stock boost gauge works. And
Yep. All the stock gauges work in that car.
It's awesome.
It's got one gauge. It's got a gauge that hooks into the ALDL that gives me a lot of the computer parameters, and that's it.
That's awesome. How cool is that?
Yeah.
It's like oil pressure on a junkyard LS. Sometimes it's better if you just don't know. I'm going to bring you back real quick, and if anyone else has got anything else to add into the comments, go ahead and do it now. But I'm going to swing back around. Advice for newbies for drag and drive.
Enjoy yourself. Don't think too hard about it. I understand you. You mean I can remember the first time I probably packed my garage, and now I bring less than I actually have because there's always going to be someone out there who's going to give you a hand. You know, you might think you need everything under the sun with you, but sometimes you don't. So don't overthink it. I mean, come out and enjoy the experience because you never know. You might not be able to do it again in the next year. So just meet new people, enjoy what is set in front of you, and don't overthink it.
That's such good advice because it is. You're taking a vacation. So,
And and you're right. It's a vacation. And this year was the first year that I had actually had a lot of stuff that actually went wrong for me. And, you know, fuel problems, oil pan problems, a lot of stuff that fought me this year. And I needed it because I was getting too used to it being a vacation. And it showed me that you can have problems and still work through it. People are going to be there to help you get through it, and you can still finish that race.
Yep, and that's totally true. And then, I mean, you get guys then that are, I mean, these dudes are rock stars in our world. I mean, look at Rich Guido,
Yeah.
who thinks that you're a badass.
Ha! Yeah.
And I mean, and then on top of that, like, you won the freaking stick shift shootout.
I can remember the first time I met Frank Romano. It was in Bowling. It was on. We had got back to Bowling Green, and I met Frank and Glenn and Glenn's all those guys from New York. I was scared of them. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, no, they're intimidating.
Frank's covered in freaking tattoos, and
he talks like a New Yorker. He's
exactly.
got the really big New York accent.
Yeah. So, and then come to find out that's, you know, a great guy. All those guys are, you know,
Totally.
Once you get to know those people, I mean, I talk to Frank regularly every week, you know, so it's just, you know, if I would have stayed scared from him or whatever and not started talking to him years later, that, you know, he's a really good friend of mine now. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
There's really good people. I don't think I've ever met a bad person on a drag or drive event.
No, that's totally true. And like I said, like earlier, we're so cut from the same cloth. Everyone is on the same path. It doesn't matter if you're a Ford guy or a Chevy guy or a Toyota guy or gay or straight or black or white or blue or green or purple. We have the same goal. Everyone wants to finish and then drink beers in parking lots
exactly
with each other, and that's pretty much it. And that's just
White Claws.
Or White Claws or coffee. I mean, whatever. Pull up some coffee and let's make it happen. One last one. It looks like from the peanut gallery, and it is Mr. Rich Guido. Are you doing any of the label diets?
No, I do not. I eat a fat, a carb, and a protein 6 times a day. So if I'm eating, I'm putting all 3 of those in. I've never have been a fad diet person. I was always taught that you need all of those in your life. Sure, there comes points where I need more protein, I need less carbs, or I need more carbs, I need less protein, but I always put a protein, a carb, and a fat in my body 6 times a day.
And all at the same time?
Yeah. So let's say I get up in the morning and I have breakfast. I'm having I'm having 2 whole eggs with 3 egg whites. So I'm getting fat from the eggs. I'm adding cheese to my eggs. So there I'm getting fat from that.
Fat and protein.
I'm having a bowl of Cheerios, so there's my carbohydrates. I'm having milk, so there's protein and carbohydrates. And if I sit down and let's say 3 hours later, my snack consists of 20 almonds, a rice cake, and a protein shake. And then I sit down and I eat lunch. I'm having rice and chicken and almonds again. I'm always putting all 3 in me, no matter what, unless I'm cutting for, let's say I want to lean out, I might trim back my carbohydrates and keep more protein so I can keep the muscle mass I need. So, I mean, it's just what works for people. Don't get me wrong. I've watched people do keto diets and lose a lot of weight, but you have to be aware of what you're doing. If you can train your body to do it, perfect. I'm all for it. I know people who've done the carnivore diet and can live off meat, which is great. But when it comes back down to it, if you stop that and you start adding everything back into your diet, it might work, it might not work. But if you continue keeping all 3 things in your diet, you can divvy from that, taking some away, adding some here and there to do what you need to do. But when it all comes down for me and the people I work with, it's always a fat, a protein, and a carb.
Well, like anything, it's just there's no one size fits all. There's no silver bullet.
Exactly.
So a guy like Rich, who does a lot of jujitsu and things
Yeah.
like that, is going to have a different need than a guy
Yeah,
that works from home and
exactly.
doesn't do anything.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think there's
You have
so
to
many different
find
ways,
you have to find what works for you.
right?
And it's like I said, it took months for us to figure out what worked for me. And
Absolutely,
now I just always try to continue doing that.
hell yes.
Yeah.
Well, dude, just past 2 hours.
Just past 2 hours. Yep.
How crazy is that? I told you.
It was a good time.
This is just great. This is
Yep.
great. And we can, and I always end these with the same, like, we could go another 2 hours, I'm
You're
sure.
probably right.
And just, I mean, get so in depth with everything that happens with everything. But that said, dude, it's been so much fun rapping with you for 2 hours.
Yes.
And everybody else that's out here that's been hanging out, Ed Hohenberg, thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, Rich Guido, the Canadian Chuck Norris. If you guys don't know Rich Guido, I'm going to have him and probably Bill on at the same time because they come as a pair. And that's going to be a super fun time. So I'm
Well,
going
now
to,
you've got me on here, and I'm gonna watch. So
right,
this has been
right, exactly. And
it's been awesome.
check out some earlier ones. You can always check those out. Obviously, again, the podcast, the Blueberry, and it's on all the Apple outlets as well. Only the first 3 up right now, so it looks like I'm going to be able to get 2 or 3 up per month on that. But you can always rewatch them on YouTube. So
Cool.
they're all good. They've all been a really good time. Like again, Pat Cook I had on last week, and a lot of guys again just watching these, listening to these in the garage. I know the Havlicks. We're going to tune into this one. Some Iowa boys.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been super duper fun. And dude, John, thank you
Yeah. I appreciate the time. It's
for
been fun.
coming in on this. This is
Yeah.
super duper cool. And I'm going to go ahead and throw you in the background real quick.
Okay.
Do a little sign off for these guys, and then I'll bring you back up and we'll call it a night.
Okay. Sounds great.
Awesome, guys. How much fun was that? Are you kidding me? John Puckett, 2 hours just went by like that. This is so much fun, guys. I'm having a blast bringing you all of, like I said, a lot of history, a lot of historical kind of stuff with what these guys have done, are doing, are moving into, et cetera, et cetera. So, very, very cool. How about a guy that his family owns a drag strip that he's never been on? Come on, John. Let's make that happen. But that said, guys, thank you so much. Tuesday night. Um, these just keep getting better. And thank you again for tuning in, all of my regular guys, all y'all out there checking this out. Thank you so much for checking it out. It's build season. Hopefully you have this on in the garage. And that said, guys, episode 27 of That's Cool Drink, and we are done.